Hey everyone, my name is James Razile. This is Digital Charcuterie, and today is my favorite day of the week because it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Thursdays, and on March 19th, one of our favorites, one of our own, turned 25 years of age. I'm going to talk about that with Andrew Fantasia, the 25th anniversary of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time, just happened. Do you feel old yet? I do, because I am. All right, let's get this show started. Joining me today is Andrew Fantasia from the Andrew Fantasia YouTube channel. You can check it out right here where he reviews movies. Usually gives the wrong opinion of each movie, I would say, because there's no one clapping for you at all. We actually just lost 2 subscribers because you're on the show right now. But thank you for coming back. This is your 3rd time on Teenage Mutant Ninja Thursday. That's right. You can't get rid of me. I'm a turtle and I'm sticking to it. You wish you were. You wish you were the 5th turtle, Kirby from last week. That's what today we had a whole show planned out today, and then on March 19th, which was Sunday. On Sunday, the greatest thing to ever happened, and that is one of our beloved childhood films turned 25 years of age. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. The good one is what. So we're not going to give a review of the movie because it's 25 years old. And if you haven't seen it by now and you're a Turtles fan, my guess is you'll never watch it regardless of what we're going to say. But we're going to talk about it. Talk about the 25 years since of Turtles. But we'll stick to this time-traveling movie, if you will. They have a scepter that April O'Neil buys at like the flea market or something. You know, they needed a reason for her to have it, and she brought it home, and she's like, look what we got. And we're like, that's really cool. This movie did one thing that I was really, really happy about, though, Andrew, and that is bringing back Elias Cotes as Casey Jones. Our boy from Montreal, Canada, the Greek from Montreal, Canada, bringing it on as Casey. By the way, every live-action Casey Jones, Canadian.
That's right. I mean, I don't understand the connection why you would hire Canadians to play guys in hockey masks. I don't quite understand what they were going for, but I am glad that they're representing. Yeah, no, it makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But Elias Cotes is, I didn't mind Stephen Amell as Casey Jones in Out of the Shadows, which is the single greatest Ninja Turtle movie, and that's not. It's my guilty pleasure movie, probably my number 1 guilty pleasure movie of all time. But Elias Cotes, I think, is my favorite of the comic, the cartoons. Every time I've seen Casey Jones, he is, for me personally, the quintessential Casey Jones. Yeah, I always think of him, if I read a comic with him in it, it's Elias Cotes' voice that I'm hearing in my head. Like, he's Casey as far as I'm concerned. He's got some great lines in the first movie. Because he's, first of all, he's claustrophobic like I am as well. I love that part in the sewer, and then he tries to sleep in his truck, and he's chopping up. He's got Leo Sawyer starts chopping the carrots. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the 3rd movie, which arguably, where would you of the 6 Ninja Turtle movies we've had so far, where would this fall on your ranking system of those 6 movies? Number 3. It's been a minute since I saw it, but it would either be last or second last. What would it be with the animated one? Yeah. Yeah. For me, unfortunately, I'm with you on that one. It would be far down. The thing with this movie that I would say is, concept-wise, I think it's a great concept for the Turtles. Going back to ancient Japan, I think they missed. There are some problems with it, obviously, but I like the concept going back to ancient Japan because that fits totally in line with the Turtles. Also, even to this day, everyone says that there's no Star Wars toys in the stores anymore, and I don't know about how it is in some areas, but where I am, there are barely any Ninja Turtle toys also. Like, it is hard to find a good Ninja Turtle toy, but I saw these ones that were really, really cool, and they were our beloved Turtles in ancient Japanese attire, like, and they're all kind of separate. Yeah, and they were really well done. I thought, well, that's really cool. But that's what Turtles are. And in the first Turtles, Raph wears the fedora and the trench coat, and I had the Donatello toy like that. Turtles have always, for the younger fans, have been about, kind of disguising themselves, and that's one thing that the movie really did well, I thought.
Yeah, the setting fits with that. It definitely does, and they have a thing going on in the IDW comics now, the newer comic, where they are, spoilers if you want to read this comic and you haven't, maybe just plug your ears, but they're reincarnations of old samurai. That's at least that's what's implied as far as I've read. So it always, feudal Japan is always in your mind when you watch Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of people were sad about is, okay, yeah, you have feudal Japan with the turtles in it, but at the end of the day, what they're doing there matters like very little in the grand scheme of like turtle lore.
This movie came out in 1993, 25 years ago, as we said. And for me, I was born in 81. Spoiler alert, everybody. I'm old as AF. But it came out in 93. So I was like the demographic for Turtles. Like the animated show, the toys, that was me. Like it came after my age, 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever it was. They hit me, and they hit me hard. I went to the first Turtles movie with my dad and I think my sister. And we went to this little theater. They weren't big at the time. They were pretty much like the size of TV screens in people's houses now. It was movie theaters back then. And we waited in line, and we were in line for like an hour. And then the usher came in and goes, "By the way, it's sold out." And we're like,
"Oh,
what?"
no.
So we had to go. We ended up going back a couple of days later or whatever and finally seeing it. But it was I wasn't going to rest until I saw this movie in the theater. Like that was it. I was watching this movie. By the time the third movie came out, I was now 11, going on to 12 years old, and I wasn't as into toys anymore. I was still into video games, obviously, and Turtles still had a place in my heart, but I wasn't like, I have to go see this movie. And when the trailers came, and yeah, I went to old Japan, and my thing was back then is I was like, but I want the Turtles in New York. I wanted the New York Turtles. Plus, on top of that, we'll talk about this a little bit later, they looked like garbage. Like when you watch the commercials, you're like, dude, something happened weird. Did they demutate? What's going on here? So that was where I was going into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. So I can see why a lot of people would, of my age, would not necessarily be nostalgia towards it. But I'm going to go on in a little bit about when I did come around to it. But how about you? Do you have a first memory of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3?
I was born in 87, so I'm kind of a little too young for the early, like when the Turtles were in their prime, I was a bit too young for it. I was like just underneath, the bar of the demographics. But I remember them existing. I remember watching them in my apartment on my old wooden TV. The music more than anything always stands out to me. But the movies were just this thing that was happening in the background that I was too young to understand. I was the same with Ghostbusters 2. Like, the whole world was talking about Ghostbusters 2, and I'm like, I understand that that's a thing, but that's as far as my little mind can comprehend. My first sort of dive into, like, when they were hot was around the time that this movie was coming out, though. I remember being in junior kindergarten and just sitting at a table next to these two other boys, and they were talking to each other, and one of them was saying, "Oh, Turtles 1 is the greatest movie ever made, blah, blah, blah." And the other boy was like, "Oh, yeah? You know what was on last night? Turtles 2." And they were like, "Ah!" And I hadn't seen either, so I was just like, cool. That was like around this time. So I was still just under the bar. But it wasn't until I got a little older and was looking back nostalgically that I realized how much fun I was missing out on. So I didn't see any of these in the theaters, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you were definitely too young to see the first two in the theater. And this one, I guess you would have been at a young age. Friggin' Ninja Turtles 3. So what happened was it came out and I did not care. I was like, they look like garbage because Jim Henson did not do the effects for it. It was the All Effects company. They went cheap on this one. Because the turtles in the first movie especially, even though you can see the eyes, who cares, I think they look better than the Bay Turtles, to be honest with you. Like, there is something about... Yeah, I would like to see what a kid would think in comparison. There's always been something about those live action turtles where you're like, they don't look real, but they don't look fake. Like, you completely buy that they're there with April, and they're a thing. They're not like a guy in a puppet suit. Even watching it now, I'm like, there's something about the rubbery skin, the rubbery shell. Everything about it is so unique. And then in this movie, they up the freckles tenfold on the turtles. Their eyes are like bulging out. It's almost close to the Saban series that we talked about briefly last week. It's like you could see the digression of that. You're like, oh, what's going on with my turtles here?
And you can see the animatronic movement of it. Like, you can see the whole, like, hey, Leo, what's up? Like,
yeah,
it's more prevalent here.
And this is the one where Splinter, like, is only... Oh, there's a fire truck going by. Does not like me bashing Splinter right now. This is the one where Splinter, every time Splinter's on the screen, he's behind something because I don't think they had legs for him. It's like Casey Jones, like, I'm on the ground, and Splinter's like, I'm here in the kitchen. What's going on, Casey? How are you? It's just, it's... And Raphael's a different voice, I believe, in this one. It had... like I said, it was a weird time for turtles. And if you watch the Turtle Power documentary, which I'm sure a lot of you have, they say they dropped the ball with the second one, so they tried to get things right with the third one, and then they never expand on that. They never say anything more. So I'm always curious, like, well, what was your ultimate thought of the third film? Because, like I said, the concept is cool and kind of more serious by concept, but again, the execution is like, ugh.
Yeah, I think that concept would have worked better just under a different circumstance, because if you look at it, like, again, I wasn't on board when the movies were coming out, so I can only speak from theory here, but I'd imagine if I'm a little kid, if I'm James Razile and I'm plucky and I'm walking into this movie theater and I just finished watching Turtles 2 and I'm all excited and they say, get ready because in 2 years we're going to have Turtles 3, my initial thought is, okay, Super Shredder's coming back, because we saw Super Shredder and we didn't get a whole lot of him. And maybe this time, in my heart, I'm hoping that maybe this time they're going to bring in more of the stuff from the cartoon, because that's what I fell in love with, right? So maybe I'll get to see the Technodrome. Maybe I'll get to see Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady. And, we got 2 movies without them, and I think kids were okay with that because they were good, but they probably got to a point, and I'd imagine you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but you kids probably got to a point where it was like, okay, that's nice. 1 and 2 were a lot of fun, but can we please have Bebop and Rocksteady? Can we please have Krang? And when the third one came out and it was like nothing of what you wanted was in it, I'd imagine that probably led a lot of people. That'd be like if Episode 9 of Star Wars came out and it was literally just like Rey and Finn like playing Scrabble for 2 hours.
That would be like if The Last Jedi came out and Luke was grumpy on an island. Yeah, that's what it was. You the thing is, though, is your mindset as a child watching the movies is okay, how is it my TV show? But it's not the TV show. Like, the first Ninja Turtle movie is not the TV show. It is more the comic book. And then they inserted some stuff from the TV show, obviously, and made some changes for that because they know who their audience is. But it was a way more serious film. The second one was more child-friendly, obviously. They don't use their weapons. And then in this one, they don't even have weapons. They're just goofballing it around, looking weird.
Yeah, Willy time.
Yeah, and just that for me is... I was not excited whatsoever from the trailers. I was like, this looks dumb. And then it came on video, and I taped it off of TV, and I watched it like 300,000 times because I was then like 12 officially. It was I think it came out like that summer. Like, it was pretty quick if I remember correctly. And I watched it off TV, taped it off TV, and I was just like, it was like the Super Mario Brother movie for me, where I'm like, this is so bad, but I'm really enjoying it. But the problem is, as soon as you put on the first 2, you're like, whoa. It's like, this is not what I want at all. That's how I felt about Turtles 3. But it's been 25 years since this movie. And since then, we got an animated film, 2 live-action animated films, I guess, and several TV series. The Turtles have grown a lot from the 25 years since this movie. Do you think there's a chance in the future? This is what I hope, because as much as I love Out of the Shadows, I think that franchise is over with. like that, those turtles are done with. Do you think it would be smart in any way for another Turtles movie to come out and not be an origin story? You can maybe deal with the origin a little bit, but go straight into it being a direct sequel to Turtles in Time and maybe Super Shredder coming back. Do you think there's a possibility? Is it plausible at all that the Turtle franchise can say, look what Star Trek did, look what Star Wars did, look what Jurassic World did? We have something like that where the first two movies, people love those films. Those ones stand the test of time, I'd say. Like, people, whenever talk Turtles, they go to those movies, and of course the 80s cartoon, but that's a separate thing. Do you think there's a chance that someone can take it and be like, look, it doesn't have to be called Turtles 4, Turtles Back from Time. You know, it could just be like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, whatever. And then you just kind of have it and be like, yo, Donnie, we beat Shredder twice, now he's back. In some capacity. Not as bad as that, but in some capacity. Do you think that the world is ready for that? And do you think that Hollywood would be smart if they did that?
First of all, I don't know about you, but I really miss Roman numerals.
Yeah.
I miss Roman numerals, man. There's just something classy about them. Bring them back. Yeah, I think it would be very plausible to do something like this. However, I think that they could take it one step forward. It might be a little too ballsy, considering, you know, we know that now Hollywood and they don't equate turtles with risks anymore. Those live in very separate worlds. But if they were wanted to take risks, I think it would be really cool if this movie is made and it's a period piece. It's set like in 1993, back, you know, right after this whole Super Shredder thing happened. There's an online movie critic guy. His name is Bob Chipman, and I used to follow him about, 10 years ago. I used to watch a lot of his stuff. And I remember when this first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles was like coming out, and I think we saw like the first trailer for it or something. This guy, Bob Chipman, is a huge Turtles fan, and he took to Twitter and he made this really funny tweet basically saying why he's excited, but he's not sure how this Turtles movie is going to work today in the modern world. Mm-hmm. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly how he worded the tweet, but he worded it as if he was writing the screenplay. And he said, exterior, street, night. And he said, Raphael stalks past the organic frozen yogurt store in Times Square. No, not that one, the other one. And basically his point was New York is not the same New York it was when the Turtles were made. It's not this like gritty, crime-ridden, like graffiti-strewn place. Now it's like this super squeaky clean, vegan paradise. And he's like, how do you make, the Turtles in that world without it looking like stupid, and like what are they fighting? There's not really a lot of crime there. And I think that the idea of setting it, therefore, in this like past day, got Turtles 4 or whatever you want to call it, and set it right after the fact, that might be interesting. You could present this world and you could make it a little more visually interesting, the way that Tim Burton did the Batman movie, the first one, where Gotham looked real, but it looked like something was just off about it. Something was otherworldly about it. And if you can recreate, this old-looking New York, so it's not squeaky clean anymore. There's not a froyo stand on every corner, and there's old yellow newspapers fluttering in the streets and stuff. And if you give it that eerie quality where it's like, this is not quite our world, the cars are really boxy. I'm like from a little kid's perspective today watching that, like, wow, those cars are really boxy and old looking, and wow, New York is really dirty and scary. I think that could be powerful for a little kid to see that. And, us adults were like, yay, a period piece. I remember boxy cars. I remember that Volvo. So I think it could be a win-win for both demographics.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really cool idea. We live in a world, where Blomkamp is like, I want to do an Alien movie. It's going to be Alien 5, but it's going to actually be Alien 3, and we're going to retcon 3 and 4. This is the world we live in. The nostalgia wins all the time, and that's what people go to. You bring Turtles in, and as much as I do enjoy those two Bay-produced Turtles, especially Out of the Shadows, the turtles are not their appearance is not very welcoming. It's not turtle like the Injustice one I was talking about. Those turtles look fantastic. I like and they look like the realism of the Bay Turtles, but like Ninja Turtles. Like there's this look of Ninja Turtles that people want, and we're not. You know, the 90s was a time where it's like, no, nostalgia doesn't exist for this stuff. You just make whatever you want. And that's when I say this Venom movie that's coming out, it looks more like a 90s movie where they're like, screw the comic books. We're going to make it gritty on the streets. But no.
Like Steel.
Yeah, exactly. But like, that's not the world we live in. We live in a world where people want to be teleported back in time with the characters and the actors in those roles that they grew up with, but a new story. Don't reboot it. You could do it as a reboot, but keep all the pieces that I love there, and I'll stick around with you. Like The Force Awakens is a prime example of that. It was a soft, hard reboot of A New Hope. Kept the characters you loved from those movies, introduced you to new ones, new planets, whatever, and now you're like, okay, what's the next one going to be? It's going to make $1 billion. Not that Turtles would make $1 billion right now, but that's what it is. I think I don't think it would ever happen. Because TMNT, the animated movie, kind of does that, where it's kind of like, this is a sequel to the other ones, because they mention how they defeated Shredder and all that. So, yeah. And that's just a way to do it. It doesn't have to be a direct. I like your idea of going back and making a period piece, like making it take place in like 1991 or 2 or whatever, or even the 80s, whatever. And it doesn't need to be a sequel per se, but it's just continuing the story of the Turtles like a James Bond would do. You know, like James Bond is just James Bond. And so that's how I think it's a great way. And then Super Shredder could come back and we can all see Super Shredder kick some. And that's Super Shredder kicking butt, man. It was because when Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze came out, all anybody talked about in the schoolyard, Super Shredder and Vanilla Ice is going to, because we thought it was Bebop and Rocksteady when we heard that there was going to be mutants. So we thought Vanilla Ice was going to beat up Bebop and Rocksteady. That's what I was talking about on the school. Yeah, we gave Vanilla Ice way too much credit on this one.
So did the producers of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's... you and I talked so much about how much we loved Out of the Shadows. Imagine if that had been what Turtles 3 was instead of what we got for Turtles 3. Like, kids would have been over the moon back in 1993. So I think now Hollywood knows what people want to see and what they don't want to see. You know, after 6 movies, if they haven't learned by now, then give Turtles to like Bollywood or another place who might, understand what's going on. Because if they haven't learned by 6 movies, they're not going to learn anytime soon. But at this point, they should know, okay, the fans like this, they don't like that. This worked, this didn't. At this point, whatever next Turtles movie we see should be, kind of the best of all the worlds. It should have, the aesthetic look and the style of like the first one, with just like nice new glossy makeover of like Out of the Shadows, but like with a good story to tie it together. And if you continue that old story, yeah, it's possible, and you'd be doing a lot of people a favor who wanted to see it. So obviously there's fan service involved in that too. But I'm more than anything else, I think I want to see, if I had to pick between continuing the Super Shredder story or seeing it as a period piece, I would pick the period piece because I want to see visually what they can do with that. And I just think of like the first time I saw Batman, I mean, my favorite part of that movie was any time we saw an establishing shot of Gotham City. Just anything that we saw was like, wow, that looks different. And I'm just imagining a kid today, your nephews and nieces or whatever, watching this and being like, wow, look at April O'Neil's apartment. Look at the carpet and the curtains. People's houses don't look like that. What's going on? And it'll imprint in their head. They're going to remember that 80s looking apartment. You show them a modern apartment that's going to be in one eye and out the other. I think that visually they have a chance to kind of give people a treat that they weren't expecting.
Yeah, and the one thing you have to do that Tim Burton did excellently in that Batman film is you do not address it. It is what it is. It just happens. You don't address it. Gotham City is a city it's stalled in time. It is. You don't know what year it is. You don't care what year it is. This is just how it is. They have TVs, so they have electronics. They have phones and all that, modern looking phones. But it's in like this this film noir setting. I think that's really cool, and that's what Turtles thrive in that old New York style. That's a really cool concept. I would like to see that happen. But guys, it has been 25 years since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time came out. Let me know what you guys thought of that movie in the comments down below. Andrew, any final thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time?
I hope that the villain who fell off that cliff had a good fall. We hardly knew him, and I'll keep it that way.
If he was Black Panther, he would be alive right now.
That's right.
Just saying, he'd be totally fine right now. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We love talking Ninja Turtles. We do it every single Thursday at 2 p.m. right here on Digital Charcuterie. So if you like Ninja Turtles, give us a subscribe. You can check out Andrew Fantasia at his YouTube channel, Andrew Fantasia. We'll put that in the description below so you can click on it and watch him review a movie that probably bombed this weekend.
Probably.
Wait, Tomb Raider came out. What'd you think of Tomb Raider? A thumb up or down?
Down. That video's up, actually. You can see it.
Oh, I know what you thought
channel.
of it. Yeah. This is for people watching. They know.
It should have stayed unrated. Let's put it that way.
Damn, like better or worse than the Angelina Jolie movies?
Oh, better. Yeah.
Still not saying much. All right, guys.
Nah.
Thank you so much. And until next week's Teenage Mutant Ninja Thursdays, cowabunga.
Cowabunga!